EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Victory Friday edition of Birds 365. Eagles get the win last night, everybody, 26-18. They moved to 8-2 on the year, and they are officially in that lead spot in the NFC East by a decent margin. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, a Victory Friday, an Overreaction Friday, all sorts of things. Johnny Mac, how you feeling?
A delusional Friday. I got some delusions. I think I'm seeing things. So, yeah, hopefully everybody can get me through this one. Late night. Eagles keep winning, man. Unlike my green screen, they keep winning. Pretty impressive closing effort, fourth quarter effort. I think people already forget they were losing at the end of the third quarter, which is pretty amazing if you think about the way that game ended. And then it was just like a spigot of just domination, Washington falling apart. And it wasn't even that close, 26-18. Obviously, you had the garbage time touchdown for Washington and 2-point conversion, but really went from 10-6 to 26-10 in the true guts of the game. It was all offensive line and Saquon Barkley closing it up for the Philadelphia Eagles, which, hey, do what you got to do to win. But, yeah, if there's one, and I say, the true star was the defense. The defense was unbelievable. But, yeah, and that passing game is the one thing I look at and say, it's not where it needs to be. But, we're nitpicking at 8-2. But the goal is, remember, the goal is not to win the NFC East, even though it is, but the expectations are the expectations. Are they going to win the NFC East? Yes. Are they going to make the playoffs? Yes. Are they going to be in the conversation to be the number one seed? Maybe.
Yeah.
Can they go to the Super Bowl? That's where the I don't know if anybody else has different expectations in there. If it's about doing all that, everything's going great. If it's about winning the Super Bowl, still got one little concern.
Yep, no doubt about it. I mean, you brought up the fourth quarter too. Obviously, the game didn't quite look like it did at the end when you ended after 3. Birds had 20 points in the fourth quarter. They went into that quarter down 10-6. I mean, in a way, guys, it was really the tale of the one quarter, because I was sitting there. I tweeted, we have 6 points after 3 quarters. This is not a good offensive performance. Saquon Barkley, as John mentioned, we will be giving away a jersey, everybody. So hit that link in the chat pinned at the top and become a member today. We added a bunch of members last night on the post-game show, and I'm excited to give away another jersey. I will do that on Monday's show. So if you're checking in today and you're a new member, I did not get a chance to pull the member list and prepare all the giveaway stuff. Just too late last night when I went to bed. I had a couple other things to do after the show. So apologies for that. But we will do the giveaway on Monday. I'm looking forward to doing that Monday after hours of Birds 365, as some like to call it, Zander time on Birds 365. So we'll do that then. He capped the game off, really, a 23-yard touchdown run and a 39-yard touchdown run later in the quarter where Cam Jurgens absolutely destroyed a man. I saw Johnny Mac tweet that out.
My Lord. People should go look at that block.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is Cam that far down the field, number one? And it's because he destroyed the guy originally, then got him twice, I think. That poor guy's got a family, I think. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and again, because I did not believe, and I say it all the time, I did not believe that Saquon Barkley would have the kind of impact he has had on this team going back to the off season when all the hype started. And he's been way more than I expected, And generally, when we always talked about the total yardage of what I expected, which was 16 to 17, I was above most people. And he's going to crash through that. maybe next week, who knows, at least in 2 weeks, if he continues at this particular pace. But, you know, I mean, look at those two. Look at the holes on those 2 touchdowns. Like, everybody keeps making the Giants comparisons, and he didn't do this with the Giants, and he did. They are massive.
It's almost not believable in an NFL football game, the
It
type of holes
really
he's running
isn't.
through.
It's just unbelievable. Now, the difference with Saquon, I said on the post-game show, is, Miles might turn the 23-yard touchdown to a 15, 16-yard run, and you got to punch it in from there. And DeAndre Swift, same. He gets it and it's gone. Bang, he's done. It's touchdown. It's 6. So there's been that massive improvement. But, boy, yeah, watch the Cam Jurgens play.
Yeah,
it's the entire offense, not just Cam, obviously, but.
Yeah, but that particular block it was Jason Kelsey-esque, where he gets up into the second level and just eviscerates. I think it was the safety that eviscerated. It was great to watch, though. We'll talk about the Eagles' offense. Offense in this game, dare I say, offensive struggles for 3 quarters. The Eagles' offense, particularly the passing game, was largely ineffective. Drop passes, poor execution. Jalen was I don't think he looked himself after he took those 2 hits to the head. Now, he cleared concussion protocol, so I'm not going to say they didn't check on him or anything, or he wasn't okay. I'm just speaking from what I saw with my own eyes. Looked like he might have been seeing stars a little bit out there after his head slammed off the turf.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the implications for the NFC East. The Eagles are obviously now in first place and really in the driver's seat to win this division. And then Saquon Barkley's impact. So good stuff there. We just mentioned that. But, John, we got to talk about defense, man. Defense. Dare I say it? Is this defense the best defense in the league right now, the way they're playing? Everybody, after the game, so it was like, he's a rookie quarterback. I'm like, he wasn't. Nobody cared about that when they were telling me how great he was. I mean, we made that dude look mediocre at best. He was a check down Charlie all day to Austin Eckler.
Oh, he wasn't even mediocre. He was flat out bad.
Yes, he was.
And you have to give all the credit to the Eagles defense. I mean, now there's a lot of, he's banged up and this and that. Well, he's banged up before. And, Chris Franklin, my buddy, friend of the show, pointed out, I think it was Jalen Carter, but I got to go back today because obviously I've been up, slept for about 2 hours, but
yeah.
I believe it was Jalen Carter who hit him really hard early in the game. And I don't think he was the same after that hit.
Yeah, he sent shockwaves through him, dude.
Yeah, and then there's if you think about it from a boxing match, but sometimes you hit a guy early and he's like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. And I think that's what happened. I really do. Because he was like, he wasn't mediocre. He was terrible. And I mean, inaccurate, wouldn't even look at the receivers because he didn't want to give them time to get open, develop patterns because he was seeing ghosts. And it was all checkdowns and all flat. Flat plays to Austin Eckler. Did a good job. The one commander who can probably look at, even he had a drop though that would have been a first down. Now N'Kobe, I think, got a hand on it, but he still should have caught it. But he was the one commander that played pretty well, I would say, at least from the first watch. But that defense is nobody. I don't care who you are. Nobody saw this coming. And if you say you did, I don't believe you.
There's nobody that saw this coming. I mean, Zach Bond is literally in the conversation as the best linebacker in the NFL. I'm not saying he is, but he's in that. Yeah. And John, it's funny. I know you don't see the TV broadcast. I'm sitting on the postgame show. We've been talking about the contract all week. He's sitting there next to Jalen Hurts on the field, getting Amazon Prime, not the podium treatment, but, the postgame interview. It's Jalen Hurts and it's Zach Bond. So I say that because now everybody's starting to learn about Zach Bond. Now he does it on prime time. He makes a big stop on 4th and 2 and wrecks Jaden
What a
Daniels.
stop, by the way.
Oh
What
my
a
gosh, was
stop.
that a good stop? I mean, it really was an unbelievable
And
play. I
that's
went
a
and
stop.
rewatched it.
Brandon Lee Gouton and I always talk about that stop that PFF has, because I don't care about tackles. You say 14 tackles. Jeremy Chinn's a perfect example of that. I kept hearing the name Jeremy Chinn, and Ed Kratz loves Jeremy Chinn, and I'm like, he's a good player. He's a big safety,
Yeah.
really big, but he's not much in coverage. And he kept hearing his name, Jeremy Chinn, Jeremy. It's all 7-8 yards down the field. Like, I don't give a crap about
Yeah,
something.
right.
Zach Bond's stopping people. That's what they call the near the line of scrimmage, making plays, making meaningful plays that help the defense.
Really meaningful plays.
Yeah.
And by the way, it doesn't look bad in coverage either. You remember that first
Oh
drive?
no, he's been great in coverage. He's been great in
he dove
coverage.
and broke up that pass. I mean, he
Yeah.
right now he looks like a special player for this team, and we'll see what he continues to do. But
Yeah,
we'll talk about the
he's
contract.
and he was on special teams as well. He made a special teams tackle. He popped up on special teams because they evidently needed him there. Yeah, he's been. I always say, as good as Saquon Barkley is, he's not their best free agent signing. Their best free agent signing, Zach Bond. I mean, he is. I dare say you say he's among the best linebackers. I put one guy ahead of him, Fred Warner. That's it. And you can make an argument Zach's been better. You can make that argument.
Yes, you could.
And it won't be because they always give it to guys who get sacked. He should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
Yes, I agree. If you took the names off the jerseys and you put the tape in front of somebody and they had no idea, who had the pedigree like Fred does, they might say Zach Bond's playing better. He's playing that good. He's a missile out there. You pointed that on the 4th and 2. I mean, he's getting upfield. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
He decked. He wrecked Jaden Daniels out of bounds on that play. So big stop there from Zach Bond. And John, you know what else I thought stood out in this game? Go ahead if you want to get a point in on Bond.
It was great on the 4th and 2. It was great seeing that live because I'm sitting there going, they bobbled the snap. You're like typical Washington. They F it up, and poor Dan Quinn's going to take the points, Dan Quinn. But which, by the way, he addressed that well after the game. Dan Quinn, Nick could learn something from the way Dan Quinn addressed that. But I digress. I'm like, but then he re-grabbed the ball, and I'm like, oh, all right, he's going to make it. And here comes Zach like a freaking missile, like you said. And when he hit him, Jaden Daniels just stopped and went backwards.
Yes.
He's been such a physical player as well, and the Eagles pride themselves on being physical and beating teams up. And they beat the crap out of that team for 3 quarters. And they fell apart in the 4th because of that.
No doubt. It was an unbelievable defensive performance for this team. I mean, not just Zach Bond. Zach Bond is obviously playing like a star. How about Quinyon Mitchell? How about that defensive line, John? They terrorized Jaden Daniels.
Jalen Carter every single snap.
Unbelievable what Jalen Carter is doing right now, man. I mean, he had that shaky start of a little bit of ups and downs, and now it's just full steam ahead. I'm coming to show everybody how freaking good I am is Jalen Carter right now, John. He's on a tear.
Yeah. And while I just gave all those, and deservedly so, all those legitimate praising of Zach Bond, he's not the best player on the Eagles defense. Best player on the Eagles defense is Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
And look, he's not in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation because that's a stat-based award, and you got to make splash plays. And but the way he dominates the front, there's so many times where he just beats his man right off the snap, and wrecks a play. And he might not even be involved with it. The end of it, whether it comes to a tackle for loss, sack, whatever. But he's creating it for others. And he's playing at the level we've all envisioned, at least all of us who believed in him as the best player in his particular draft. He's playing like that right now. I know everybody wants sacks, and I for those who've listened to the show a long time, I don't give a shit about sacks. As long as the pressure's there, as long as the impact is there. And the Eagles had 3 of them, and he got none of them. But if you watch that game, as I said, he set the tone by really, putting a big hit on Jaden Daniels early. Yeah. He is playing. And to go from where he was last year as far as a conditioning standpoint, when it was like, wow, he's really good early in the season, then he wore down. And now we're already, this is getting late, This is already week 11. It's already November. It's finally a little bit of chill in the air. And this guy's playing every snap.
Impressive stuff. There are a couple notable mentions. I don't know if we're going to have time before we get Jeff Kerr up. We'll see if Jeff joins us. In a long night for him, I'm sure, as well. I think a couple players deserve notable mentions, and I don't think we'll be able to dive into each of them right now. We will on the show at some point. I think Reed Blankenship deserves a mention. That dude just continues to make plays.
Most underrated player.
Yes. I think you're right about that. He deserves a mention. Cooper DeJean, again, deserves a mention. We'll talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit. We got to talk about Jake Elliott.
Brandon Graham, man.
Brandon Graham. I think Nolan Smith deserves a mention, John. He's starting to turn the edge. That third down sack was a big one. That was in a key moment in the game with Nolan Smith. I think he deserves some credit too. Josh Sweat looks pretty good.
Had a big game. Everybody had. Everybody.
Jordan Davis showed up. They could not run the ball on us at all, really.
And obviously, Quinyon, I don't know what to say about Quinyon because nobody's throwing. Jay Daniels wasn't throwing the ball to any receivers. So, we'll see what it looks like on film as you get to the all-22. But all I know about Quinyon Mitchell is he's very good.
Yeah. Well, let me give you the stats. And I'll also tell you what Terry McLaurin. If you don't want to listen to me, listen to Terry McLaurin, the man who was covered by, or who was covering him. Quinyon Mitchell lined up across from Terry McLaurin on 20 out of 25 of his routes, and 19 of 20 of those were out wide. He gave up 0 targets, 0 receptions, 0 yards, and he played 6 of those snaps in press coverage. That's courtesy of Next Gen Stats. And after the game, and this is courtesy of EJ Smith, when they talked to Terry about Quinyon, he said he's a good corner. He doesn't play like a rookie. So Scary Terry, some respect. By the way, who can no longer – you can't be called Scary Terry after you have 1 catch for 10 yards. You just can't.
Well, that's the thing, though. Yeah, he's having – I put more of that on Jalen Carter. He only threw the ball to Terry McLaurin twice.
Yeah.
That's it. And he had 1 catch with 11 minutes left in the third quarter, I think it was. He didn't look at him. He didn't look at Zacchaeus. No. He didn't look at the Browns. Noah was the one who got a couple targets.
Yeah.
He didn't look at Dynamic Brown. Now, they didn't play well. He didn't look at Luke McCaffrey. He didn't look at wide receivers because he was spooked.
He was seeing ghosts, John. He was seeing shadows, dude.
Yeah. So I get everybody's going to look at the numbers. All I'll say about Quinyon is he's really good. He's phenomenal for a rookie, as Terry points out. He doesn't play like a rookie. We've known that for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying I wouldn't look at those stats and say, well, there are certain quarterbacks who are going to throw the ball to the receiver 50-50. A.J. Brown, we see it all the time. You got to give your best player a chance. He didn't give the best player a chance.
Yeah.
Now maybe Quinyon intercepts it. Maybe he does all these things. He didn't throw the ball to his receivers. He couldn't. He wasn't comfortable.
No, he wasn't. That offensive line couldn't hold up versus our defensive line last night. 2 other things I want to talk about before we get to our break, and hopefully we'll have Jeff Kerr. If not, John, Get another cup of coffee, my friend.
Yeah,
I want to talk
had to
about
get the
Jake
big
Elliott, and then I
mug.
want to talk about Jalen Hurts. We'll talk about Jake first. John, what
I
the
had to
hell is
get
going
the
on with this
big
guy?
mug, by the way. The
There you
big
go.
mug.
Got the big dog mug. I love it. I got that same mug. Jake Elliott, man, what's going on with him? I mean, he missed 2 field goals,
Yeah,
44 and 51,
that's
missed an extra point. Is he in his head? Does he have the yips? Did Nick Sirianni put him on ice? Or maybe has he stunk in practice all year? And this is why Nick's not using him.
nah, I don't know. I mean,
No, I know not that. I was
this
just
guy's
saying.
been rock solid pretty much. He had one bad season though. The end of the Doug Peter. Obviously, everybody had a bad
Yeah.
season, and then he bounced back, and that's the hope that's going to happen here. Look, I talked about it. It's weird for me because Jake's so good at everything. I always say it. He's like the best ping pong player. He's the best softball player.
He's one of those guys. Everybody knows those
Yeah.
guys. They're just
He's
good
the
at
best
everything.
golfer. He's the best golfer on the team. Saquon's always, Saquon's become a big golfer and loves it, loves to talk about it. And I asked him one day, "Have you played Jake yet?" And he's like, "I'm not ready for that." It's like, that like everybody knows. And it basically everything for hand-eye coordination, he's awesome at. And even he would put those trick golf shots on in wherever Instagram,
Right.
whatever social media. Yeah, it's so bizarre. I mean, the guy is like rock solid. He missed 2 kicks all of last year, field goals,
Yep.
and he missed 2 in the first half. And a 51, all right, people have become used to 50-yard field goals. All right, there was some wind out there. It's getting later. As I said, it's getting colder. It was a more difficult kicking environment. Michael Clay talked about it early in the season when everybody all across the league was making 50-yarders. That'll change when the weather starts to change. And I think we're here when that comes. So I can forgive the 51-yarder, although, he's 0 for 4 plus 50. And he's been obviously he's already franchise leader. He's, done so much with long kicks. So that's a concern, but
That's enough to give you some concern. 0 for 4 this year. Because look, if you need him in a big spot when these games get closer, when the margins are tight, I mean, I know we joke about Nick
it's a
not loving a kick.
concern.
That's where you need your kicker really the most. I mean, let's be real. When you're a great team, and you struggle or the drive is stalled at the 35, you need your kicker to drill the 50 plus. I mean, that's
Well, yeah, it's nice when they do it. I'm just saying, I think people take it for granted now because of a little bit. And I do think it's, I can live with that is what I'm trying to say. I can live with that.
I get it.
44, I can't live with. Missed extra point, I can't live with.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see if the hold was there, the snap was there, all that kind of stuff. Because Jake is very, and I mean very, above board and took complete credit for it. I'm trying to bring up, I transcribed him. It's frustrating. Adjectives are kind of almost pathetic, uncharacteristic. It was a tough night. So he's pointing at himself. He's not the kind of guy that will walk away from that. So, but that's why I want to look at, sometimes, when you see guys miss who are doing well, it's almost always a bad snap or, a late hold, maybe a little bit of a hiccup with the hold. So we have to see how that went. And I haven't looked at it yet, but you almost hope that's the case because, yeah, it's not acceptable, the performance by Jake Elliott.
No doubt about it. John, I will take a page out of your book and I will do my best to not complain about the officials, but God, they were bad last night, John. They had a lot. I mean, they had some bad calls. Let's get into Jalen Hurts, John. I don't want to pollute the question. I just want to get your take. When you watched that game, what were your takeaways from what you saw from the quarterback, Jalen Hurts?
Same as always, man. It's like certain plays are like, what are you doing, dude? And then he makes a play with his leg, and you're like, where's that pin? And he's converting these big third downs and keeping drives going. Um, and then there's generally a kill shot, which might have been the play that Dallas Goedert, which was fumbled, and then Grant Calcaterra saved it.
Yeah, that was good.
And then because that was right after, I think the game was 12-10 when the Commanders went for it on 4th and 2
Yeah.
at the Eagles 26. And if they convert that, even if they don't score the touchdown, they're probably getting a field goal. Even though they have a backup kicker, he was fine. Zane Gonzalez was fine throughout the game, and he's a veteran guy, so he probably, at the bare minimum, they're up 13-12, and you're still in the dogfight. But that was such a big sea change in the game, the Zach Bond play, and then they immediately go down the field. And the big play to go down the field, I think people forget because they were all focused on the touchdown runs, was the big throw to Dallas Goedert. And Dallas was loose with the football and fumbled. And you normally, when you fumble that far down the field, because that was 30.
30 yards up for sure.
It's
Normally
all
that's a lost ball. Yeah.
Yeah, that's lost. It's all defense unless you get it back yourself. But Grant Calcaterra was, doing what he was supposed to do. It's sort of like maybe a baseball outfielder backing up the other outfielder. Some guys do it, some guys don't. And the ball, you got a little bit lucky, and the ball popped right to Grant, and you had the big play. And then I think next play or 2 plays later, Saquon went in for the first touchdown.
Yep. The 23-yarder. Yep.
And then 20 seconds later, it was Reed Blankenship, and bang, another touchdown. And the game was over essentially. But yeah, that was a big play in the game. The biggest to me remains Zach's stop. That was the turning point of the game to me. But so many little things. And with Jalen, to your original question, yeah, maybe it was maybe he was hurt. Maybe he was groggy. Obviously, they tested him for a concussion. I talk about this all the time. This concussion protocol is a bunch of bullshit. I mean,
Yeah,
it's.
I said
I
that
think
last
a lot
time.
of people. Oh, he doesn't have a concussion. He hasn't concussion. Nobody knows.
I know. It's one of those injuries that like, it's not like a broken arm where it's like, oh yeah, my arm is
Yeah,
broken. I
exactly.
know my arm is
I
broken. You
think a
don't
lot of
know.
people think you can diagnose it like that.
I know. You can't at all. And
No.
Jalen's one of those guys. I mean, for better or for worse, I mean, I like this about him, but he's got that kind of a warrior mentality where he doesn't really give a shit. And if
Oh
his
yeah,
arm
he's
is not dangling on by a thread, he's going to go out there and play. And I wouldn't be surprised if he told, "Hey, I'm fine. But he was seeing a little stars out there for sure.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah.
He was basically. That's why I was shocked they didn't stop the game and make him get evaluated earlier.
Yeah.
Because it was clear that he was shaken up, and there was something going on. And for whatever you mentioned, the officiating crew, I didn't think it was terrible, other than the normally over legislated stuff. It
There was a
typically
couple
is.
moments, John. I thought the Cooper DeJean call was brutal. I thought the Devontae Smith face mask they picked the flag up. The replay's playing in front of these dudes, and they.
Well, I thought. Well, the
I mean, that was
replays.
so clearly a face mask, though, John. They're playing on the big screen. He's grabbing on to under his helmet, which is
Yeah, but that's not a face mask.
no. They did. They the rules analyst said on the broadcast that it is. If you get under the helmet or in the holes of the helmet, that's technically considered a face mask.
Well, that's another thing with the over legislated. Some
Yeah.
people say that, some people don't, and even the rule. I always joke. I with Terry McCauley once. Terry thought I was insulting him on social media once, and I said, "Dude, I'm insulting the over legislation of the game that even you guys can't agree on the legislation of the rule because it's so. Like I heard guys say, no, that's not a face mask because that's what I'm saying. It's so arcane and so
That's fair.
bullshit. But what I'm trying to say is that has no impact on the game. Yes, do you like to have that as a call? Okay, yes. But I always bring up, since we're going down the rep route, I'll give a shout out to NFL ref stats on Twitter. So he sends out a cheat sheet every week to me. And Adrian Hill's crew, that was the referee last night. He does this stuff every week. He does number 1 for roughing the passer, co-ranked number 2 for defensive pass interference. They rank number 3 for offensive holding. A lot of typically a lot of ineligible men downfield penalties, but there weren't yesterday, so that was good.
Well, now I know.
And then he goes, Eagles are 4-4 and Eagles are 4-4-1 with Adrian Hill with all 4 losses on the road. So now they're 5-4-1, but they're 4-0-1 at home. So I'm not. I mean, I didn't come out of that game and say the officiating had a big part of it, other than the typical officiating bullshit you see in every NFL game.
Yeah, that's fair. I have no problem with that. I mean, maybe it's just the Eagle fan. I mean, looking for a couple extra calls that we didn't get, and then one on Cooper DeJean pissed me off because it makes him look worse. Thought it was a good play by him. But John, we have a couple super chats that we'll get to here. I want to thank our great viewers this morning. Quinn, Fly Parks, Jimmy Wen, A is in here. What's up, A? Abe, SMD Eagles, Jonathan Harvey, Kenny P. Crowley's in here. The Real Zeal's in here. Mike Fittery, Brian Garner, Philly D's in here. What's up, everybody? I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I know it was kind of probably a long night for you guys too, watching the game, digesting, watching highlights, whatever you guys were doing. And I know some of these names were with me on the post-game show till about 3 a.m. So thank you guys for being here. Make sure you guys smash that like button for us. It's a Victory Friday. I think that means we should get some likes on Birds 365. It would mean a lot if you did that. So smash that like button away, and I will read a couple of your super chats right now. Big thanks to you guys for being here. Prince says, J-Mac, wake your ass up. Long night, Prince. Long night, brother. Brian Fleming.
Easier said than done, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Iron Man, I'm here.
You're here, Johnny. Johnny Mac, you've been here for 4.5 years. Never missed, brother. You deserve credit for that. Brian Fleming checks in. This is for Big Z and Johnny Mac. I know Z damn near ended damn near 3 a.m. and I assume J Mac got home around the same time. You guys are beast stills as prop drinking Coronas in a dress like the Hogs circa Joe Gibbs and Doug Williams. I love it, Fleming. Brian, thank you, man. We appreciate your support. And this show doesn't happen without all of our great viewers. So we appreciate that. Even if it's a couple long nights here and there, I'm good with that. Alexander Harris checks in with a member chat. By the way, our members will be giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey. I'll do that on Monday's edition of Birds 365. So get your memberships in today, and we will give away our 5th Saquon Barkley jersey of the year. Looking forward to doing that. Yeah.
5th. Boy,
5th. No, I think we're getting up to 10, dude. I think we're getting at least 10.
That's a hell of a year.
Yeah, he's having a good year, man. Alexander Harris says, if the defense can pitch shutouts these next 2 weeks, would you be convinced that this team can win a bowl playing bully ball, John? Well, man, they're pitching shutout.
Well, yeah, they're pitching
you can win without even playing bully ball. You can win with.
Okay, I always say I think people don't listen. You can win any way. The last team that the San Francisco 49ers, the Jimmy Garoppolo San Francisco 49ers, not the most recent group. They got to the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl with the lead, playing bully ball and taking the air out of the football and not letting the quarterback throw the football. And they got to the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl. And so, can you finish it? Sure. You can finish it. What it does is playing that way decreases your margin of error. Kansas City made a couple plays. All of a sudden, they're behind in the 4th quarter. Game's over. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't come back. They
In a
couldn't.
way, it's a probability game where you're trying to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining it better than me. I'm tired. Same thing that Tom Brady says about play calling. What are you doing at play calling? It's probabilities. Oh, it's 3rd and 7. They're going to be in man. I'm going to call some man beaters, and they're in zone. And all right, you're fucked.
Yeah.
If you're calling.
Well, I will say this: if running the football is lower probability, which clearly it is in the modern NFL, boy, it'll help to have a defense. Because John, you can even point to last night's game as a perfect example. If that defense isn't playing so good, and the Commanders are able to capitalize
Oh
on the
yeah,
Eagles'
game's
early
over.
struggles,
Yeah,
I mean, the Eagles aren't
game's
running
over.
the ball like they did in the second half to get back
Nope.
in that game.
But we're 14-3 instead of 10-3.
I
They
know,
weren't running the
so
football.
that's where the defense, man, it changes everything when you have a defense playing like this. And Zach Bond, arguably the leader of that pack with Jalen Carter.
You know, the
in the
weird
middle.
thing about playing the way they're playing, though, I will say, is that typically when you play that way, you have to play well early and get the lead, and they never play well early.
Right.
So it's been, they've been out, and they make plays in the passing game. They're much more equipped to make plays in the passing game, and that's what's frustrating. That they can't do it consistently. Yeah, but it's all about probabilities. That's the whole point. That's all you're trying to do. You're trying to increase the margin for error.
No
You
doubt.
can win anyway. You can go out there and win and shut out, somebody like you said. And yeah, you can win that game. The Super Bowl's one game on that particular day. In Super Bowl 52, they had to win a shootout. Super Bowl 57, they also had to win a shootout. They won one, they lost one. Are there different games?
You bring up
Yes.
57, man. I'm not going to lie to Eagles fans. As excited as I am about the win, as pumped as I am about the defense, as excited as I am to be in first place in the NFC East with a clear path now to, if not the 1 seed, pretty high up there, the 2 seed. I'm concerned about Jalen Hurts. I just am. I don't, I tweeted after right near the end of the game, and I said, it's great to get this win, but nothing about what I saw tonight made me feel better about the passing game. Now, I know people are going to have a problem with that. People are going to rip me in the chat. Whatever. I'm just calling a spade a spade. We got to analyze the game. We got to talk about it. I'm a little concerned on the Jalen Hurts front. I'm not going to lie to everybody, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I almost hope he was a little groggy, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think it explains it more.
Well, remember, John, I also think that there's the context of like 2 games in 5 days. We talked about how there's no preparation for games like this. Does that have anything to do with it? Does it have anything to do with, I was talking to somebody last night and they're like, this is one of those games. It's an old school NFC East game. Get the win and move on. You're happy to get the win and you're happy to move into first place.
Yeah.
Who cares about what Jalen looked like? Who cares about that? It's one of those old school division games that's a battle. Find a way to win. And you move
By the
on.
way, speaking of that, interesting with Quinyon Mitchell last night. I was talking to Quinyon after the game, and somebody asked him, Danny Gray is one of the Eagles practice squad receivers, very, very talented kid. He was a 3rd-round pick at one point. And, the Eagles hope down the road that maybe, he could develop into something. But typically, Danny Gray is the guy who on the scout team mimics, Jamar Chase and he got asked if he was Danny Gray mimicking Terry McLaurin. And Quinyon is a straight shooter. And he's like, well, we didn't really practice. Nobody mimicked anybody. They don't practice. They don't I think people don't. They literally do not practice
Right
in these weeks. And he's like, well, yeah, we didn't. Nobody did because we didn't practice. Nobody mimicked Terry McLaurin. So there you have it.
No doubt about it. A lot of people crying in the chat about the comments. I know, guys. You want me to just come up here and say, "Yay, we win." We're in first place in the NFC East. Okay, I'll see you on Monday. I mean, come on, man. We got to analyze the game. I'm saying, that was not Jalen Hurts' best game at all. It wasn't. A checks in, and I appreciate A, John, because John A was with me late on the post-game show, so he's running on low hours of sleep too. Hey, thank you, brother. He says dirt balls all game from Jaden as well, like number 5. McNabb was
Oh, yeah. Well, the same thing. They're saying the same thing in Washington now. They're making excuses and saying, well, he's got a rib injury. He's this. Well, I'm sure he does. Everybody's banged up. Yeah, he did not. Zander called it mediocre. It wasn't mediocre. He was bad.
Yeah.
And I love the kid. I would have taken him number 1 overall. I say it all the time, and I still think he's going to be a pain in the ass for this team long term. But last night, he was not good. He didn't reach the level of mediocre. And a lot of that had to do with Jalen Carter and that defense.
No doubt about it. They played great last night. F Body checks in. J Mac, can you text Nick to give whatever speech he gives to get them going at halftime during the first quarter? Slow starts are killing me. It is funny, man. This is a second.
Believe me, they're trying. They're trying. And they've been showing a little bit more life recently, early in games. They had a couple first downs. They were moving yesterday. They were moving the football, and then they had a conversion to A.J. Brown. It was nice, and they had 2 conversions. The first one was 3rd and 2. Saquon run right up the middle for 3 yards. They moved the sticks. Then they had a 3rd and 6. It was A.J. for 7 yards. And you say, oh, they're starting to cook. Then they got A.J. again for 25 yards, and they're all the way down to the Washington 23. And then they run it. Saquon minus 2 yards. They lose 2 yards. They're behind the sticks. And then they throw a manufactured touch to the guy who's not a manufactured touch player, but they only manufacture touches for him, Anaya Smith, and they lose another 2 yards. And then Mekhi Becton on that same play was called for holding, and it was legit. That one was legit. And Lane could have been called on holding as well. And because the reason both of them got caught for holding is Jalen was leaving the pocket when he probably shouldn't have left the pocket and trying to extend plays, blah, blah, blah. So there's some good to that and bad to that. But all of a sudden, 2nd and 12 turns into 2nd and 22. And then incomplete pass and your 3rd and 22. Again, Kellen Moore doesn't have 3rd and 22 on his call sheet. It's better than 3rd and 33. But 3rd and 22 is not good. And they do what they should do, and they ran a draw to Kenny Gainwell. By the way, Nick Sirianni was above. He was so happy with the way Kenny played. Everybody's talking about Saquon, and rightfully so. But they were gashing him with Kenny.
In 4K. I mean, he did. He was 4 carries for 43 yards. So he averaged over 10 yards a carry. But, I mean, I kind of would have liked to see him a little bit more. But I get it with the nature of the game. It was a Saquon game.
And then Jake missed a field goal. So they should have had points on their first drive. But he missed a 44-yard field goal.
Yep.
But it's always, the negative play. They're getting a little bit better. They're trying, but they have not been good early in games offensively. But then the defense went out there and got a 3 and out. And you're right back on the field.
Defense had a couple big stops in that game. And, one of the clutch moments in that game actually was in that first half, John, and I said it when it happened. When we punted, the Commanders took a block in the back penalty. I think it was their 2nd or 3rd drive. And then they started back around their own 5-yard line. They never got the first down there. It completely flipped the field. And then the Eagles started in plus territory there.
Wow.
And I think that was when they got their first points on the board, if I'm not mistaken. Or did they miss the field goal there? I don't remember exactly, but I remember it flipped the field completely.
Oh, they went. So that was the first drive. The second, Washington gets the ball. They go 3 and out. That was the Zach Baun early pass
Yeah,
breakup.
that was tremendous.
That was Tressway's great punter, by the way. He pinned the Eagles back. And then the Eagles got one first down, converted third one. They were very good on third down early in the game. And then they had a 3rd and 8 after that, and sack by Jalen Hurts, typically taking the coverage sack. And the Eagles had the punt. And then was the Commanders' one drive, which was really all Austin Eckler and then Brian Robinson. And it was uncharacteristic. It's like the only bad play from Zach Bond since Atlanta. They threw that little flat past Eckler, who went 34, 35 yards, and Zach was there and for whatever reason didn't tackle him. It was kind of riding him down the sidelines. And then they just ran it in. It was Jaden Daniels for 5 yards, Brian Robinson for 18 yards, and then to the 1 yard line, and then he just pushed it in. That was their only bad series defensively in the game, really. Unless you want to, I'm not talking about garbage time. They were just,
Yeah, that was that garbage. Yeah, I'm not worried about that garbage time touchdown. Big super chat comes in from Kyle, man. Thank you, bro. $50. I'll get to that in just a second. I appreciate that a lot, man. That's big support of the channel, and we appreciate that. We'll spend some time on that super chat for sure. Brian Garner checks in. Few thoughts. Daniels didn't look right. Jalen in the passing game was horrible. I think he may have been a little woozy from the flea flicker play and the hit at the end of the half. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. And then you start with the trick plays, and that you get too cute. Nick didn't like the trick play question, but guess what, Nick? When you run trick plays, you're going to get questions about it. Now it's not, Kellen's calling the plays. I don't want to go down that route, but
yeah, we got a lot of that already I got a lot of that on Twitter. Oh, Nick called that play. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think so, everybody.
No, yeah, that's not the case.
Like a triple flea flicker. I don't even know what they were trying to do there.
What again? What does the guy got to do? I mean, now here you are. You're 8-2 again, and you're still complaining about the head coach with the top 10 record in the history of the NFL. I mean, what's the guy got to do?
No doubt. Brian, thanks for the super chat, brother. I appreciate it. Brian, one more. It says defense is miles and miles ahead of the offense.
They are miles ahead of the offense. It's bizarre. They've been much better than the offense. It is unfathomable to me that this is how it's shaken out. But that's why you play the games. Everybody's playing with just supreme confidence on defense. They're all, playing together, the chemistry, the communication. Everybody's making plays, young players, veteran players. Brandon Graham's on his way out the door making plays. Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell are on their way in the door making plays. Reed Blankenship is just, another interception from his perspective. We talked about linebackers.
Yeah.
Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. Nakobe
Dean deserves some credit too, man. He, what I love about Nakobe, John, is he might be small. When he hits somebody, he friggin' hits them, man. He puts a body on people.
By the way, that is the silver. I talked about it all the time with TJ Edwards. That is something that is people don't understand. Maybe the silver lining to Nakobe Dean's foot injuries last year. He was in first of all, he was in a rollabout, so, you have no mobility. Then he's on crutches. Then he's on in a boot for just a long period of time. And he could not do a lot of working out on his lower body. So he spent a lot of time working out his upper body. And he is massive and huge compared to what he used to be. and you can see it show up on game day as far as strength and pushing people back and going forward. So Vic Fangio, when he was talking about all ball linebackers in general the other week, brought up Sam Mills because he was a big part of Sam. He's a Hall of Famer. Rest his soul. But and somebody made a quip about Zach Berman, being the same size as Sam Mills because Zach's short. But and Vic was like, Sam wasn't small because everybody uses that. I used to use it with Darren Sproles. People would say, Darren Sproles is small. No, he wasn't small. He was short. Darren Sproles was maybe pound for pound the strongest Eagle.
Yeah, he was low key a beast, Darren Sproles. Yeah.
He wasn't small, he was short. That's N'Kobe. He's short. He's not small.
Yeah, no, he's not. It looks like he's revamped his body a little bit. One more, and then we'll get to the $50 burger from Kyle, man. Thank you, brother. Vulnerable Vitality checks in. Ed Reed Blankenship. We just talked about him. I love it. Has such amazing instincts. How many times have we seen him step up into the route like that and jump the ball? Big brain play. I like it. Big brain play.
Well,
Johnny
Reed's
Maxwell.
done a number of that early in the season. You remember he had the two.
That's his third interception of the year last night.
Yeah.
I think he had one against New Orleans and one in the opener against the Packers.
Yeah, and they were both phenomenal interceptions. Yep. This one, this was not a big brain play. This was Jaden Daniels just, all right, I haven't done a damn thing. I'm going to take. That was as easy as Reed's going to get it. I'm with you. Reed's a big brain guy. Reed makes that play was not. That was a gift.
He does deserve some credit though, man, for how.
I call him the most underrated defensive player.
I'm not saying you don't give him credit, but
I'm just saying that his other two interceptions this year are exactly that description. Exactly. The Green Bay interception was phenomenal. They were basically the same type of thing. This one, that was a bad throw.
Yeah, tossed the burger up to him. Good stuff, Vulnerable. Thank you, brother. All right, John. It's gonna be a debate. It's gonna be a topic here with Kyle. And Kyle, I can't thank you enough, man. $50. That's a big super chat. I appreciate that support as always. Big thanks to everybody in the chat right now. Got a big crowd in here on a Victory Friday, so make sure you guys smash that like button before I read the super chat because you might get pissed off at the super chat. Kyle, thank you, man. John,
I'm not gonna get pissed off.
No, you're not. The people might though. John. Not giving up on Jalen, and I'm not trying to be over the top. But at what point do the Eagles go get a pure pocket passer and move off of Jalen? It happened to Jimmy G and Jared Goff after Super Bowl losses because they were limited in the passing game.
Yes, it did. But, those guys did not have the history of Jalen Hurts. So there's different levels. Like I'm not going to compare Jalen Hurts to Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he's a much better quarterback. And even now, I think people look at the way Jared is playing now and say, all right, Jared Goff is very accurate. And, Detroit has set up this system that plays into what he does well, very astutely. But they have everything, Detroit, much like the Eagles. He's a better quarterback than Jared Goff. Now, does he do it a different way? Yes, he does it a different way. But I can't, I often talk about it with Nick, 42-19, and again, there's a lot of context to that. And you can't be 42-19 without really good talent as a coach, which Nick will be the first to acknowledge. But now it'll be 42-19, and wherever they end, almost 700 football. They're going to make the playoffs again. It's just a matter of where they are and how they finish. So they'll be 4 for 4 in making the playoffs. And I bring all that up because the same holds true for Jalen Hurts. He's been the starting quarterback. A couple games. If you think about the 2-5 start in the Nick Sirianni era, from that point forward, they're 40-14. yeah, I'm not changing the quarterback. Now, he was hurt for a couple of those games, but they lost with Gardner Minshew. They lost 2 games. So his record's even better.
Yeah.
Now, I always say embrace the uniqueness, but he's got to get there's both things can be true. He's not going to be a traditional pocket passer. The Eagles know that. They still paid him $250 million. They're fine with that. But he's got to be more consistent with the plays that are there. That's what you're looking for. But no, I'm not pulling the plug on a guy with that kind of success rate. And you saw it again last night. Was it ugly at times? Yes. And then all of a sudden he's making a big play.
Yeah. I agree. And look, I didn't think Jalen had the worst game. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over, which was solid. They won the game. He made a couple plays with the run. The one thing that I'd like to see from Jalen, obviously, you talk about the pocket presence and some of those things where he misses guys across the middle, but I just want the lows to be higher. I want higher lows because I think it's just a little too much at, peaks and valleys with them. And if you can make a little higher lows, I think it's going to make your life a little bit easier. Even you're not going to expect them to be on at every moment of every game. I'm not saying that, but you don't want him to have such peaks and valleys. And I think, we'll see if he can do that. But I kind of understand what Kyle's saying, John, when you think about the talent on the offense. I'm not saying I agree with him,
but if you have Jared Goff, maybe you're better, maybe you're worse because you're not converting those third downs with the legs.
Yeah.
But maybe you're being a little bit more consistent in the passing game. Probably would be, but I don't know. I'll be the first to say wins and losses aren't a quarterback stat, but when you win as much as this team does, it's closer to being a quarterback stat than other quarterbacks, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
I mean, you take out his rookie year where he's 1-3, which is, bullshit. It wasn't his offense. They're trying to get out of the season. So 4 years as a starter, he's 41 and 16.
It is unbelievable. I mean, look, you can't results speak for themselves, and he's got a good roster and everything, but there were moments in that game that definitely had you wondering what was going through his head. I do still maintain that. I think he was freaking woozy after that play. Let's get to our commercial break, John. We're an hour deep. Jeff Kerr, he's still sleeping. That's all right. I can't beat him up too much. We'll get him up on Monday.
Also, I said goodbye to Jeff at probably he left before me, so I don't know, 2:30, whatever the hell it was. And again, I did forget to remind him, but he volunteered too to come on. He volunteered. It's a bad job.
I think Jeff likes coming on. I like getting Jeff on too. He's good, man. I like talking to Jeff.
But I never ask people to come on at 8:20 in the morning
after a night game. Yeah, it's a little much to ask, especially for people that are covering the game like you guys are at the thing. Yeah. No doubt about that. All right, let's get to our commercial break. I want to thank everybody for being here. We got a great crowd in here. As usual, Birds 365 continues to grow. You guys continue to make it happen. So hit that like button for me. All the other super chats, Wabzino, A, Shooter, McGavin, we'll get to them as well. So thank you guys for checking in with the super chats. Don't worry, no super chat will go unread. So we appreciate you for being here. Before I get to our break, I do want to tell you guys about the great people at BetUS sponsoring Birds 365 through the season here. And I put the promo code on your screen. It's YouTube 150. It gives you 50% or 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposits, all up to $2,000. So go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa and check them out and use that promo code YouTube150. We'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody, on Birds 365. Plenty more to talk about on a Victory Friday.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.